Hi, thanks for joining me. You're here either because you have read my new novel, The Scandal of Virginia Gray, or you want to read it and you're just wondering, what am I getting myself into? I'm hoping that this video will help you understand a little bit more about the story behind the story. So let's get started. I have a couple of questions that have been presented to me, and I'd like to answer them for you now. So, The Scandal of Virginia Gray is indeed based on true events. It is the fictionalized account of my own life story, a semi-biography, if you will. The main character of the novel, Virginia Gray, represents moi. And the scandal is referring to a period of time when I found myself caught in the web of adultery as the other woman. And as the blurb on the back of the book states, that the book describes a tale of reconciling past transgressions, of healing the wounds of infidelity, and discovering the life-changing power of forgiveness. Well, I actually did start writing the book as an autobiography. It was a very factual account of what happened in my life. It was more of a spiritual testimony in written form of redemption. But when I finished, even though everything sounded great, it just felt too flat to me and lacked a certain emotional connection that I really wanted to get across. So I started to imagine what would it be like to turn it into a fiction novel. And so by doing so, it gave me a chance to really dive deep and tell my story, but do it in a creative way. I do love creative writing, so it gave me a chance to kind of explore a little bit more of adding a little flair to things. Not that it took it off base anywhere, but it really added, I think, to the emotional aspects of my journey. So it really felt like doing so really captured my heart perfectly, really. The onset of the forbidden or turning away, as you will read it described in the book, began, I think, in 2000 and lasted for many years. So it took me, what are we now? I'm recording this video in 2025, so it took me almost 25 years to write the book and publish it in this form for the public to read. Why did that take me so long? I believe the Lord was just being very patient with me and waiting for me to be ready. I'm a very private person, and I'd rather not the whole world know my dirty laundry. But early on, I really felt the Lord nudging at my heart to share my testimony, because other people may be going through similar circumstances or may be impacted by the power of the message of forgiveness and redemption that the Lord did in me. So he wanted me to share it with others, but I wasn't ready at the time. I'm also a very stubborn person, as a lot of people who know me can attest to. And so I fought a lot before I was ready to start talking about what happened in my life, to reconcile those places and to feel safe enough for me to be vulnerable and share my story with others. But the Father was so patient and so kind and gentle with me, and his timing is perfect. I don't know why now, but perhaps one day I will know why it took so long. But for his glory, at this time, I'm ready to share my story. That is a twofold answer, yes and no. Some characters in the story are based on real people, and there are a lot of similarities in the description of those people. For instance, Virginia Gray is me. Her husband, Sam Novak, is my husband, Reese Crane. In the book, Sam's ex-wife is Hannah, and Hannah represents Sharon Spirk now, and her husband in the novel is Lucas Madigan. Willow and Aiden are children in the book, my stepchildren in the book, and they are loosely based on my real-life stepchildren. However, their ages and details are not accurate in the book. It's not true to form. Other characters are not necessarily real people, but they were inspired by people I know. Case in point, the beloved character of Birdie. Now, Birdie is Virginia's friend in the book, an older lady who was actually inspired by my paternal grandmother, whose name of note was Bertha, but we called her Grandma Birdie. So Grandma Birdie always represented such a strong and graceful woman of faith. She had a hard life, yet she always stayed true to her relationship with God. And even though we lived far apart, we lived in Pennsylvania for the most part of my life. She lived in Florida. I only got to see her a couple times every so many years. But when I did see her, my time was so precious with her, and she would always make it a point to tell me how she had been praying for me. So it really impacted my life greatly. That's who Birdie is mirrored after. Other characters in the book, such as Mick and Lee, they're not real people, but they do represent various people throughout my life who had difficulty reconciling what I had done and their differences with me over the affair. So I'm trying to think who else. Maggie is the realtor in the book. Isaac is the student in the book, but they are fictional characters, but they do, certain aspects of them and their characteristics are gleaned from real people that I have met over the years. That should wrap that up anyhow. Not everything is true. I took a lot of creative license as far as dates, ages, places, occupations, and the like. But I would probably estimate the percentage of accuracy somewhere in the 75 to 80% range. I'd say that's about how much of the story really happened as described in the book. I actually never had a desire to have a flower shop, but I chose that particular theme because my mom loved flowers so much. My mom passed away in 2020, and so I wanted to include that theme as an homage to her memory. My relationship with real life Hannah, which is Sharon Spirk, is more amazing than I could have ever imagined. God really has done an incredible work of healing and restoration in our lives, and today we are friends. But even more so, I would consider us to be family. When we are back up north, we currently live in Florida, but when we're back up visiting, we always spend time with them. We always get together. We spend Christmas together. So it's a very special relationship that I would have never imagined God doing in a million years. Only He could take the betrayer and the betrayed and then create beauty from its ashes. I understand that not every person in similar situations is going to experience the same measure of relationship that we have, but I am thankful that everyone involved in our situation took the necessary steps to become whole and to work on what was necessary, which opened the door then for restoration to be reality in our case. Interesting enough, Sharon has actually written her own book. It is an autobiography, and it's called The Redemption of a Royal Mess. That's going to be released, I believe, in the spring of 2025, this year. So keep an eye out for that where you buy books, perhaps on Amazon or Barnes & Noble. But check out that because it's a beautiful account of her story of redemption as well. I hope that my book will impact various groups of people because I believe the message of forgiveness and of self and others and redemption is really speaks to us all. But specifically, I hope that the reader walks away with a great sense of hope. I believe that we're all going through stuff. It could be any form, from the smallest to the what you think is the biggest thing that you're going through right now. But some may not have an addiction story. Some may not have adultery or depression and suicidal ideation included on the storyboards of their lives. But because we're all human, I know that we've all experienced something that we've needed forgiveness, and we've needed to forgive others. It's the greatest gift that we could receive, and it's the greatest gift that we could give. But if I could go a little deeper in my answer to this question, there are two aspects of my story that really are very important to me. One is the topic of suicide, and the other is the title of The Other Woman. Let me start with the first one. If you find yourself in a dark place and you're struggling with suicidal thoughts, please know that you are not alone. What you are feeling right now, even though it may feel all consuming and overwhelming, there is hope and there is a reason to live. You are not alone. God is with you. And when you feel weak, God will be the strength of your heart. But there is no shame in asking for help. I know that you can get through this. And I know that God is able to bring you through this dark time. So please, I beg you, if you struggle with the area of suicidal ideation, please reach out for help, because healing and true life really do await on the other side. For the woman who has been in my situation and found herself as the other woman, you are not meant to carry this shame. You are not the enemy. You are not the bad guy in the story. You are not meant to carry the weight of the scarlet letter. There is forgiveness and there is healing for you if you are willing to let it go and trust God to make all things beautiful in its time. You are beautiful. You know, there's a lot of help out there for people who have been betrayed as perhaps the betrayed spouse. And there are also programs out there for men who are dealing with issues of addiction, maybe sexual addiction, pornography, whatever reason it is that they perhaps stepped over the line and betrayed their spouse. But somehow the other woman falls between the cracks. She gets lost in the shuffle. And she's often left alone to pick up the pieces of her brokenness after the affair. I want you, the other woman, to know that you do not have to suffer alone, that you can find wholeness and freedom and restoration of your purity and of your innocence. Because I'm living proof that you are not defined by your actions. But if you entrust your life to Christ the Savior, your identity is then found in God. He is the one who calls you by name, and that name is not the other woman. That name is so unique, spoken from the heart of God to you directly. So I want to encourage you with that right now. if you find yourself in that position, please reach out for help as well. You can contact me, or you can contact others who will be able to walk with you hand in hand, because I believe that you can be restored as well. I won't write off the idea, if you get the joke, but I do have a few ideas in mind that perhaps I'd like to develop. Maybe they could be a couple of companion stories or novellas that stem from the scandal of Virginia Gray. Or I've always wanted to write a mystery novel, so I have a few ideas for that as well. So stay tuned. There might be something more in the works later. Well, that does it for now. I hope that by hearing some of the story behind the story of the scandal of Virginia Gray, you can enjoy it even more. I do hope that you enjoy reading the novel, and I'd love to hear from you. Feel free to contact me and let me know how the story impacted your life. May God bless you, and may He keep you, and may He make all things beautiful in its time in your life. All right.